Okay, I did some work off camera because I was talking with a friend on the phone while working on the engine, so I didn't actually get this part video, but it's simple enough. I've got my intake on, 78 inch-pounds on all your little 10mm nuts. There are no washers, no Loctite required on that. But there is inner gasket that goes on first. Then you put your reeds on, and then the outer metal gasket goes on top of the reeds before you put your intake on. And of course, they all have the word up. You want the word up facing out and up. Same as on the reeds, 78 inch-pounds, then they're on. I found out that the reason I broke a head bolt, head stud, was that my torque wrench had gone bad. And how I found that out was when I was putting the front bolt on, set it to the 94 or 96 foot-pounds, whichever it was. It never clicked. I even turned it down to 70 something, never clicked. Torque wrench quit clicking. So that's why I snapped the one bolt on here, because I had a bad torque wrench. AutoZone torque wrench. I had the Great Neck. Their new brand is something else, Duralast. But it was under a lifetime warranty, so they replaced that at no cost. Your exhaust manifold, it calls for 14.5 pounds of torque on that. I think I went a little more because that sounded a little low to me, but probably low because of the heat expansion and contraction that bolt is going. If you have it on there, I guess it could break a bolt if you over torque that from just the heat expansion and such. I don't know. It sounded really low to me. 14.5 foot-pounds for that is what it calls for at the Kawasaki Ski Clinic. If you do a Google search for Yamaha 1100 STX torque specs, you will find that page. And each Kawasaki engine has its own torque specs. I've put my starter back on, did the 78 inch-pounds. I'm guessing didn't have a torque spec for that, but it's the same 10mm bolts that are on the front cover. Same here. You've got two bolts that run this way, and then the two for the cover. I guess it would be somewhat easier to see your PTO shaft and line it up. If you didn't put the cover on, you don't have to. I did, because that's the way I took it out. Just slide the engine forward, up and out it goes. So this engine is ready to go back in the ski, and that's what I will be doing today, is reinstalling the engine. You'll note that my cables are hooked to my starter because those are pretty inaccessible once all this is bolted up. So you want to have those on and ready to go. Your ground goes to, on a lot of jet skis, the ground will just be up under one of these two bolts, but this one has its own little grounding spot on the back of the starter. And I just left the tie wrap there just for tidiness to go up and over to your battery and whatnot. Like I say, ready to go. So I've got to put the plate back on. I guess we'll do a video of putting the plate on, and that is red Loctite, and I'll get you the foot-pounds of torque for that. Okay, I had to stand my engine up on its PTO. Of course, you're being careful. I've got a wooden table. You don't want to break any of the little ears off of that aluminum output device there on the end of the engine. But I did have to take my cover back off to do this, so I could stand my engine up and put my red Loctite. You see the red shining on it? Red Loctite, 33. Come on, focus. They don't want to focus. 33 foot-pounds, 6 bolts. Very critical that you put the short cutouts to the front of your engine. If you put the plate on backwards, it will fit. You can bolt it up in your ski and everything, but you're going to chew up your PTO, the other half of it, and that rubber bushing that goes in between the two. It's going to chew it all to pieces if you put this plate on backwards, because the alignment is not correct. So make sure your cutouts like this, that the short one is to the front. See how long this one is? See, just a finger width here. A little over 2 finger widths here. That's the back, rear. That's the front. Critical. Okay, so the 6 bolts are in. Plate is in the correct direction. Remember, when you're done with your torque wrenches, you want to set them down past 0 again. You don't want to leave them tightened up for that torque. You want to basically back them back down, store them in their case that they came with. They came with a case for a reason. I know in aviation, if you drop a torque wrench, it's got to be sent off and recalibrated. You can't, that's just, they got mil spec on everything. And if you drop a torque wrench working on an aircraft, the torque wrench is instantly considered out of spec, has to be sent off, make sure it's calibrated. But that's the reason that they come with cases like this to put them in, so they don't get bumped around, banged around, that sort of thing. And it's just good practice to keep them in their cases. Let me get this down and we'll talk a little bit about torquing again. Okay, so as I've said in previous parts of these video series, your torques, these Yamahas and Kawasaki's, they're numbered. There's numbers everywhere. And you work basically inside out as you're torquing. You torque to half the spec first, all of them. Then you go in with your final torque. All right. Now what you're going to find when you finish your torque, you've gone all the way out full torque on your final bolts, you're going to come back in with your wrench and you're going to find that these are going to need a little bit more tightening. So go back after you've finished fully torquing and recheck every single one of these nuts, because I guarantee you're going to have 1 or 2 that are going to need to be turned a little bit before the click hits again. That's just the way it is. That just shows you how much, I guess, flexion you have in the metal in the gasket when you're seating those together. I know with a lot of automobile applications and different things that I've done, after you've run them so many hours and they've gone through their heat up, cool down, there's a spec to come and re-torque things after so many hours of running. And I haven't heard about that on jet skis, but it probably wouldn't be something that would be too hard to do with it in the ski, is to recheck your torque after you've put a few hours on the engine and it's gone through the cool down and heat up cycles. Also, every time you build a new 2-stroke jet ski engine, you want to run premix in your tank, about 3 tanks of premix for a new engine build as you're breaking this engine in. So premix in addition to your oil pump. You're going to probably foul some plugs, you're going to smoke a lot, but you want to take it easy on your engine and get it broke in. There's some people that say, what's the point? But I've had people with years of knowledge say, hey, that's going to be the difference between your faster, better running ski and one that doesn't quite get up to its top potential as far as speed, is the break-in period for your engine. Now, what that is, I'm sure that's subject to speculation and how many RPMs you run it at for how long, and I don't want to get into all that, but I won't be running this thing at wide open when I first get it going. But now, this is it for the engine build. I've touched on everything I can think of for this particular one. And we're going to go put it in the ski and do some videos of that and give the torques for the rest of your exhaust being put back together and that sort of thing. So we'll see you in the next video.